Ella sat on her couch, the soft hum of the television playing in the background while her mind wandered. Lately, the apartment had felt too quiet, too empty. She missed the warmth of companionship, the sound of playful footsteps echoing through the hall. Something was missing. As she scrolled through her phone, a photo caught her eye. A friend had just adopted a puppy. The image showed the tiny dog curled up on a cozy blanket, eyes closed, peaceful and content. Ella felt a spark inside her chest. Maybe that was what she needed. The idea of adopting a pet had crossed her mind before, but she'd always hesitated. Was she ready for the responsibility? Would she have enough time? But the thought of coming home to a wagging tail and a loyal companion seemed too comforting to ignore this time. She opened her laptop and began searching for local animal shelters. Dozens of adorable faces stared back at her from the screen, some wide-eyed puppies, others older dogs with gentle expressions. As she clicked through the photos, she imagined what it would be like to have one of them in her life. After some browsing, she found a shelter not far from her apartment called Safe Paws Animal Rescue. Their website was filled with heartwarming success stories and pictures of happy families with their adopted pets. She felt a warm sense of hope as she read a testimonial. Adopting Max was the best decision we ever made. He brought so much joy into our lives. Ella took a deep breath. Maybe this was the right time. She sent a quick email to the shelter, asking about the adoption process and available dogs. Within minutes, a reply arrived from a woman named Maria, inviting her to visit the shelter the following Saturday. The decision was made. She glanced around her quiet living room once more, already imagining the space filled with a new kind of energy. That night, as she lay in bed, Ella felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. Tomorrow could be the start of something wonderful if she could find the right companion. The next morning, sunlight filtered softly through Ella's bedroom window, casting a warm glow across the walls. Today was the day. She felt a flutter of anticipation in her chest as she finished her breakfast and grabbed her keys. The drive to Safe Paws Animal Rescue was peaceful, the city just beginning to stir. A light breeze brushed against her face when she stepped out of the car, her heart pounding a little faster as she approached the shelter's entrance. The building was modest but inviting, with a cheerful blue door and a mural of painted paw prints leading toward the entrance. Ella noticed the sound of distant barking as she stepped inside. The scent of clean wood floors mixed with faint traces of pet shampoo, a comforting sign of care. At the front desk stood a middle-aged woman with a warm, welcoming smile. Her name tag read Maria, just like the email signature. "Good morning. You must be Ella," Maria greeted, her voice kind and soothing. "Yes, that's me," Ella replied, her voice slightly nervous but friendly. "We're so glad you came today. Are you ready to meet some wonderful dogs?" Maria asked, gesturing toward a hallway lined with colorful posters about pet care. Ella nodded, her palms slightly damp. "Definitely. I'm hoping to find a puppy, but I'm open-minded," Maria smiled. "That's a great attitude. Why don't we start by showing you around a bit? Some of our dogs are resting, but I think there are a few who would love to meet you." As they walked, Maria explained more about the shelter's mission. Safe Paws is dedicated to rescuing abandoned pets and finding them loving homes. We provide full medical care and behavioral training to ensure they're ready for adoption. Ella listened carefully, appreciating the care and dedication behind every word. The sound of barking grew louder as they neared a row of spacious, well-kept kennels. Some dogs were quietly resting, while others perked up, tails wagging with curiosity. "Here we are," Maria said, stopping at a large play area where 3 puppies were tumbling over each other, playful and energetic. "Would you like to meet them?" Ella felt her heart melt instantly. "Yes, please." Maria opened the gate carefully, and the puppies bounded toward them, tails wagging furiously. Ella knelt down as one of the pups, a golden-furred bundle of energy, climbed into her lap, licking her hands with tiny, wet kisses. "This little guy is Max," Maria said with a chuckle. "He's quite the adventurer." The other 2 are Bella and Charlie, both a bit calmer but equally sweet. Ella looked at the 3 dogs, already feeling torn. How could she choose just one? Ella sat cross-legged on the playroom floor, completely surrounded by a flurry of soft fur and playful energy. Max, the golden puppy who had climbed onto her lap earlier, was still there, nibbling gently on her fingers with his tiny teeth. His eyes were bright with curiosity as his tail wagged nonstop. Beside him, Bella, fluffy black and white pup with calm, deep eyes, sat quietly, watching with a soft tilt of her head. Charlie, the 3rd puppy, a sandy-colored ball of fluff, was busy tugging on the corner of Ella's shoelace, determined to unravel it. "They're all adorable," Ella said, laughing as Charlie gave her sneaker a victorious tug. Maria knelt beside her, smiling warmly. "They're a wonderful litter. Max is definitely the most playful, as you can see. Bella is a bit more reserved but incredibly gentle, and Charlie, well, he's the curious one, always getting into mischief." Ella nodded, gently placing Max back on the floor so she could interact with the others. She reached out her hand toward Bella, who approached carefully, sniffing her fingers before giving them a soft lick. "She seems so calm," Ella observed. "Yes, she's the sweetest of the 3, Maria replied. "Perfect for someone looking for a quieter companion." Ella turned to Charlie next. He had abandoned her shoelace and was now chasing his own tail, spinning in circles until he flopped over with a comical thud. "And he's the comedian, clearly," Ella said with a grin. Maria chuckled. "Exactly. He's always finding ways to entertain himself and everyone else around him." Ella continued playing with all 3, feeling torn as the minutes passed. Each puppy had something special: Max with his playful spirit, Bella with her gentle nature, and Charlie with his silly antics. "Do you know much about their history?" she asked, stroking Bella's soft fur. Maria nodded. "They were found together near an old barn outside town. We think someone abandoned the litter there. They've been with us for a few weeks now, and they're all healthy and ready for adoption." Ella felt a pang of sadness hearing that. She looked back at the puppies, now curled up together, content and peaceful. "So, how do people usually choose just one?" Ella asked, half joking, half serious. Maria offered a kind smile. "It's not always easy. But I suggest thinking about your lifestyle and what kind of energy you like in a pet. And, of course, trust your heart." Ella nodded thoughtfully, her gaze drifting back to Max, who was now napping with his tiny head resting on Bella's back. Ella sat quietly on the playroom floor, watching the 3 puppies nestled together in a cozy pile. Max's golden fur blended with Bella's black and white coat, while Charlie lay sprawled on his back, paws twitching slightly as he slept. The sight made her heart ache. How could she possibly choose just one? She ran her fingers gently through Bella's soft fur. The little pup opened her eyes briefly, giving Ella a sleepy blink before closing them again. Max stirred, stretching with a tiny yawn, then wiggled closer to his siblings. Charlie remained completely lost in his dreams. Maria, who had been giving Ella space to think, finally spoke softly from the corner of the room. "It's hard, isn't it?" Ella nodded, her voice thoughtful. "They're all so special. I feel like I'm letting the other two down if I pick just one." Maria offered a reassuring smile. "That feeling is normal. But remember, they all deserve loving homes, and we work hard to find the right family for every pup. The important thing is choosing the one that fits your life and energy best." Ella nodded, exhaling slowly. She glanced at the puppies again, her mind racing. Max, with his playful spirit and boundless energy, reminded her of the joyful energy she was craving at home. She could already picture his wagging tail greeting her after work, the sound of his tiny paws echoing through the apartment. Bella had a calming presence, gentle and soothing. Ella imagined quiet evenings curled up on the couch, Bella resting peacefully by her side. Charlie, the curious mischief maker, had made her laugh the most, but she wondered if his boundless curiosity would be a challenge for her current routine. Finally, Ella spoke, her voice clearer. "I think Max is the one." Maria smiled. "Good choice. He's full of personality, and I think he'll bring a lot of happiness to your home." Ella nodded, but her gaze lingered on Bella and Charlie, a soft ache still in her chest. Sensing her hesitation, Maria added gently, "If you'd like, you can spend a few more minutes with all of them before we finalize the paperwork. It's important to feel sure about your decision." Ella nodded, grateful. She leaned down and whispered to Bella, giving her a soft rub behind the ears. "You're such a sweetheart, Bella. I know you'll find the perfect home." She gently lifted Max into her arms. He blinked up at her, tail wagging faintly as he snuggled against her chest. "I'm ready," Ella said softly, glancing back at Maria with a small, confident smile. Maria led Ella from the playroom to a cozy office at the back of the shelter. Sunlight streamed in through a large window, casting a warm glow over the wooden desks stacked neatly with adoption forms. Max trotted alongside Ella, his tiny paws tapping gently against the floor. He seemed perfectly content, tail wagging as he sniffed around the room, exploring his new surroundings. "All right, Ella," Maria began, pulling out a clipboard with several papers attached. "We'll just need to go over a few things before you can take Max home. It's a pretty straightforward process." Ella nodded, adjusting Max on her lap as he nuzzled into her sweater. Maria handed over the first form. "This is the adoption agreement. It covers the basic responsibilities you'll have as Max's owner, things like providing proper food, regular vet visits, and, of course, a loving home." Ella skimmed the document, the words feeling both official and reassuring. She carefully signed her name at the bottom, her heart fluttering with excitement. "Great," Maria said, sliding over the next sheet. "This one confirms Max's medical history. He's up to date on all vaccinations, and he was checked by our vet last week. Everything looks perfect." Ella glanced at the vaccination dates and nodded. "So, I don't need to schedule anything soon." "Not immediately," Maria replied, "but we do recommend a checkup in about 3 months, just to make sure he's adjusting well." Max let out a soft yawn, curling up on Ella's lap. She gently stroked his soft fur, already feeling a sense of connection. Maria continued, "This last form is about the adoption fee. It helps cover Max's medical care, food, and shelter expenses. The total is $150. Ella reached for her wallet, nodding. "That makes perfect sense. I'm happy to contribute." As she handed over the payment, Maria folded the completed forms into a labeled folder and smiled warmly. Congratulations, Ella. Max is officially yours. Ella felt a rush of happiness flood her chest. She held Max a little closer, his tiny body warm against hers. Thank you so much, Maria, she said sincerely. You've all been so wonderful here. We're just glad Max has found someone who will give him a great life, Maria replied gently. She handed Ella a small gift bag filled with essentials, a leash, a collar with a name tag, and a small bag of puppy food. As Ella stood, Max squirmed excitedly in her arms, his tail wagging even faster now. Ready to go home, Max, she whispered. He responded with a tiny, happy bark. Ella stepped out of the shelter, cradling Max gently in her arms as the door closed behind her with a soft chime. The air outside felt crisp, the late afternoon sun casting a golden glow over the parking lot. Max blinked at the sunlight, then nestled his head against her chest, his tiny body warm and relaxed. The drive home was quiet except for the occasional soft whimper from Max, still adjusting to the unfamiliar surroundings. Ella spoke softly to him as she drove. It's okay, buddy. We're almost home. You're going to love it there, she whispered, hoping her voice would be comforting. When they arrived at her apartment, Ella carefully carried Max inside, setting him down gently on the living room floor. He hesitated for a moment, his small paws pressing into the rug as he sniffed the air. Slowly, he began exploring, tail wagging cautiously as he padded around the room. Ella had spent the morning preparing for his arrival. A plush dog bed sat near the couch, and beside it was a set of shiny food and water bowls already filled. A basket of colorful toys rested nearby. Come here, Max, she called gently, holding out a small red ball from the basket. Max tilted his head, curious but unsure. He approached slowly, sniffing the toy before giving it a tentative nudge with his nose. When Ella rolled it a bit, he chased after it, his tail wagging more confidently now. After a few minutes of exploring, Max seemed to relax. He plopped down onto the soft dog bed, his head resting on the edge as his tiny chest rose and fell with a soft sigh. Ella sat nearby, watching him with a smile. She felt a warmth in her chest, a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. But the calm didn't last long. Max suddenly perked up, his nose twitching as he caught a scent in the air. Ella watched as he stood, sniffed more intensely, and then trotted toward the kitchen. Oh, she muttered, following closely behind. Sure enough, Max had discovered his food bowl and was now enthusiastically splashing water everywhere with his tiny paws. Max! Oh no! Ella laughed, rushing over with a towel. She gently wiped the floor while Max, completely unfazed, continued wagging his tail, clearly proud of his discovery. After cleaning up the mess, Ella knelt beside him, scratching behind his ears. Guess we'll need to work on that, huh? Max licked her hand in response, his tail thumping against the floor. The evening passed peacefully after that. Max curled up next to Ella on the couch as she watched a movie, his tiny body warm against her leg. As the credits rolled, Ella whispered, "You're going to be so happy here, Max. Welcome home." Max let out a soft sigh, already fast asleep. The next morning, sunlight streamed gently through the living room window, casting a warm glow over the cozy space. Ella stirred awake on the couch, a soft weight pressed against her side. Max was still curled up beside her, his tiny body rising and falling with each peaceful breath. Ella stretched carefully, not wanting to disturb him. Her mind drifted back to the previous day, the visit to the shelter, meeting Maria, and the overwhelming feeling of choosing Max. Now, as she watched him sleep, any lingering doubts had completely faded. "This feels right," she thought. Max stirred, yawning widely before blinking up at her with sleepy eyes. He wiggled closer, giving her hand a gentle nuzzle. "Good morning, Max," she whispered, gently scratching behind his ear. It didn't take long for the calm to turn into excitement. Max jumped off the couch, tail wagging furiously as he trotted around the room, clearly ready for a new day. Ella laughed, standing up and following him into the kitchen where his food and water bowls waited. As Max ate, Ella reflected on the experience. Adopting him had been more than just bringing home a pet. It felt like the start of something important, a sense of companionship and care she hadn't realized she was missing. After breakfast, they went for their first walk together. Max tugged gently on his new red leash, his nose twitching as he explored every tree and lamppost along the way. Ella greeted a few neighbors, smiling as Max's joyful energy seemed to brighten the morning for everyone. Later that afternoon, Ella found herself sitting on the floor of the living room, watching Max gnaw happily on a plush squeaky toy. She picked up her phone, scrolling through the photos she'd taken that day. One picture, Max sitting proudly on her lap with his head tilted, made her smile the widest. Without hesitation, she uploaded it to her social media with the caption, "Meet Max, the newest, fluffiest member of my family. Adopting him was the best decision I've ever made." As the comments poured in with heart emojis and congratulatory messages, Ella felt a sense of peace and gratitude. She glanced back at Max, who had now dozed off again, curled in a ball on his new dog bed. "Thank you for choosing me too, Max," she whispered softly. And in that quiet moment, Ella realized her life had already changed for the better.